The girl who fell from the stars. The battlefield was quiet now. Only the wind moved the broken dust around, blowing through the metal ruins and burnt ground. Smoke rose from crushed tanks, and the scent of war still hung in the air. Sergeant Ethan, Ryder, stepped carefully over the wreckage. His arm was bleeding and his armor was cracked, but he had survived. Most of his team was gone. The attack came fast. Alien ships, blue lasers, and then silence. As he checked the bodies for survivors, he heard a faint sound, a voice. Not human. He raised his rifle, alert. He followed the sound through the debris and stopped near a broken pod, half buried in the ground. It wasn't human tech. This one was sleek, smooth, and glowing faintly. He pulled the door open. Inside, a girl lay still. Not fully human. Her skin was pale silver, her hair almost white, and her eyes, barely open, shimmered like stars. She was bleeding. He aimed his rifle at her. She looked at him with pain in her eyes, but no fear. "You don't know me," she whispered, her voice shaking. "But I know you." Ethan blinked. He should call command, capture her. She was alien. But something made him pause. I shielded you from the galaxy," she said. "And you? You chased me like a threat." Her head dropped back and she passed out. Ethan stared at her, his finger still on the trigger. Who was she? He looked around. No enemy in sight. He picked her up. Her body was light, too light. And cold. Back at the hidden outpost, doctors took her in. But they didn't know what to do. Her body was different. Her blood was glowing. Commander Jameson came in, his face tense. "You brought it back?" he shouted. "She's not a weapon," Ethan said. "She's alive, and she knew my name." Jameson walked over, held up a tablet. "Do you know what this is?" He showed a black file marked Project Starshade classified. "We found her before, 20 years ago, but we thought she vanished. Now she's back, and we don't know why." Ethan looked through the file later. Hidden logs, old photos, a younger version of her, watching Earth from space. Protecting it. From what? A video, log played. Her voice. "Earth doesn't belong in the war. I'll keep them blind. I'll take the blame. If I must become the villain, so be it. Just don't let them see him. Not yet." Ethan frowned. Him? Was she talking about him? A day passed. The alien girl, Zira, opened her eyes again. This time she sat up slowly. Ethan was there. "You're awake," he said. "You shouldn't have brought me here," she whispered. "Why?" he asked. "Because they'll want answers, and some truths, they're better left buried." "Then tell me now," Ethan said. "Who are you?" She looked at him with tired eyes. "I'm the reason Earth wasn't invaded 10 years ago. I stopped them. Lied. To them. Gave them false data. Made them think Earth was dying." Ethan was silent. "But lies don't last forever," she said. "Now they're coming, and not just for Earth, for you." "Me?" She nodded. "They saw something in you. Long ago. I tried to erase it, hide your name, your location, your mind. But the galaxy doesn't forget." Ethan took a step back. This was insane. He was just a soldier. "Why me?" "Because your blood isn't fully human," she said. He froze. "Someone changed your family line. Long ago. Added alien code. A seed. You were never supposed to be born. But you were. And now, they want that power back." Ethan sat down slowly. "I don't feel special," he said. "You're not. Not yet," she replied. "But you will be." That night. Ethan stood outside Zira's room. Her words played over and over in his head. He checked the stars. They seemed peaceful, distant, but he now knew the truth. They were watching, and they were coming. In the shadows of space, a fleet moved, dark ships. Silent engines. They flew like ghosts. Inside the lead ship, a voice spoke in an ancient tongue. She broke the code. Find her. And if the boy still lives, bring him home. Secrets in her blood, Zyra didn't sleep that night. The machines beside her beeped quietly, trying to measure something they didn't understand. She lay still, her silver eyes open, watching the ceiling as if listening to something far beyond the walls. In another room, Ethan sat in the dark, reading the files again. Project Starshade. Status: terminated subject Zyra. Classified as non-hostile protector. Later declared rogue order. Do not engage unless necessary. There were more documents. Sealed audio logs, broken video clips, even DNA scans. And then he saw something that froze his breath. Subject Zyra. Genetic compatibility. 87% human. What did that even mean? Her blood is rewriting itself. The lab technician spoke like he couldn't believe his own words. 3 doctors stood around Zyra's test sample, watching it under a digital scanner. Her cells were glowing. Not just reacting, but changing. This isn't mutation, one of them whispered. This is memory. Her blood remembers every wound, every attack, and adapts. So she's healing? No, the technician said. She's upgrading. Zyra sat upright the moment they tried to take more blood. Her hand shot out and grabbed the needle midair. Enough, she said coldly. The doctors backed away. Ethan entered the room just as she stood up. Wires fell from her body. The room went quiet. You're not ready, Zyra said, staring at him. Ready for what? Ethan asked. She walked up to him slowly. For what's in your blood? Ethan shook his head. I'm just a soldier. No, she replied. You're a map, a code, a memory hidden in human skin. You're not making any sense, Ethan said. Zyra stepped closer. When I found out what they put inside you, I broke the rules. I protected you from everyone, even your own kind. And that's why they want me dead. Ethan looked into her eyes. He wanted to believe her, but it was all too much. Then Zyra raised her hand and placed her fingers on his forehead. I'll show you. His mind exploded. Suddenly he was floating in space, stars rushing past him. He saw massive battleships, planets burning, creatures made of energy and metal. And then he saw himself, a child. But his eyes were glowing like hers. He saw Zyra, younger, stronger, hiding him in an old bunker on a dying planet. She stood outside the door, facing a giant monster with wings made of light. And then, darkness. Ethan fell to the ground, gasping. What was that? Your real past, Zyra said. Not the one they told you, the one they erased. Why me? He whispered. Because you were born from a stolen experiment, Zyra said. A forbidden merge of 2 species. And inside you is the key to stop the Great War. Suddenly, alarms blared through the base. Red lights flashed. The commander's voice came through the speakers. Breach in lower level. Unknown energy signature. Ethan grabbed his gun and ran toward the control room. Zyra followed silently. On the screens, something was moving through the tunnels. Fast, invisible. One by one, cameras blinked out. What is that? Ethan asked. A reclaimer, Zyra said. They sent it to erase me. And if it finds you, it'll erase you too. How do we stop it? We don't. We run. But it was already too late. A door behind them exploded, sending smoke and light through the hallway. From the fire stepped a creature wrapped in armor that shimmered like mirrors. It had no face, just a pulse of light where eyes should be. It didn't walk. It floated. Everyone who shot at it was thrown aside like dust. Ethan grabbed Zyra's arm and pulled her into the escape lift. Where does this go? He shouted. Down, Zyra said. To the vault. The only place with answers. The door closed. The lift dropped. Below the base, everything was quiet. No soldiers, no noise, just a massive metal chamber with strange symbols on the walls. Zyra walked to the center. This is where I first woke up on Earth, she said, and where they locked away the truth. She placed her hand on a panel. The walls opened. Inside was a cryopod. Ethan stepped forward and froze. Inside the pod was another him. Same face, same body, but sleeping. What is this? He whispered. Zyra looked at him. That is your other half. In the shadows above, the reclaimer floated, silently, and it had found them. The burned truth. The silence in the vault was heavy, like time itself had stopped. Ethan stood frozen, staring at the cryopod. Inside it was him. Same face, same scar above the eyebrow, same military tag around the neck. The sleeping figure didn't move, but the pulse inside the pod was steady. Alive. What am I looking at? Ethan asked, his voice shaking. Zyra didn't answer right away. Her eyes were locked on the pod, as if facing a memory she had buried too deep for too long. That, she finally said, is the first version of you. Ethan's hands curled into fists. First version? What does that mean? I'm a clone? No, Zyra said softly. You're both real, but you were split. One mind, two paths. Ethan stepped back, trying to breathe. How? He asked. Zyra looked up at the ceiling. Years ago, your DNA was stolen. The scientists who worked with alien tech made a choice. Instead of raising one weapon, they made two. One for war, one for hiding. And which one am I? Ethan whispered. Zyra looked at him. You're the one they forgot. Above them, the vault trembled. The reclaimer had entered the lower chamber. Its metal skin shifted like liquid, reflecting walls, machines, faces. It made no sound. It didn't need to. It was death that didn't announce itself. We have to wake him, Ethan said suddenly. He might know something. Zyra shook her head. No, if you both exist awake at the same time, the signal will draw more than just the reclaimer. The galaxy will know you're alive, and it will come. So what's the plan? Ethan asked. Zyra moved to the control console. We burn the truth. Burn it? She nodded. We destroy the pod, the lab, the data, all of it. They can't hunt what no longer exists. Ethan hesitated. You're asking me to erase myself. Not yourself, she said. Your shadow, your past. If you want to live free, it has to die. But before he could answer, the lights flickered. The reclaimer was here. Doors hissed open. Ethan raised his rifle. Zyra's eyes glowed faintly. As she stepped forward, her fingers charged with silent energy. The reclaimer floated in, unmoved by weapons, untouched by fear. Its voice echoed in their minds, not through sound, but thought. You were warned. Zyra stepped between Ethan and the creature. You came too late. The reclaimer raised its hand, but Zyra moved faster. A blast of raw light flew from her palm and struck the ceiling, triggering the emergency collapse. Stone and steel rained down. Run! She shouted. Ethan grabbed a backup drive, turned, and sprinted toward the lift. Zyra followed, but not fast enough. A beam of energy struck her leg. She cried out and fell. Ethan turned back, grabbed her arm, and pulled her into the lift. The doors closed just as the vault exploded. Hours later, on the edge of a desert base far from the old ruins, Zyra lay in a med tent. Her leg was burned but healing slowly. Ethan sat beside her, holding the backup drive, the only copy of the lab's data. You saved me again, she said weakly. You knew that thing would come, Ethan replied. Of course, she said. It always comes when the truth gets too close. He looked at the drive. What now? Zyra looked at the stars outside. Now we run. Ethan raised an eyebrow. Forever? No, she said. Just until we find the forge. What's the forge? A place built before history. A machine that can rewrite life, rewrite fate. The one place where your blood might speak the full truth. Ethan looked at her. You mean, this whole time I've been part of some ancient plan? Zira closed her eyes. You're not part of it. You are it. Elsewhere, on a cold metallic planet in deep space, a tall figure stood in front of a black screen showing Earth's orbit. Hooded being stepped beside him. The signal flared, the hooded one said. They triggered the code. Then the forge will awaken soon, said the figure. And the weapon? He still doesn't know what he is. But he will. The hooded figure nodded. Shall we prepare the fleets? The tall man smiled faintly. No. Let them run. Let them find the forge. And when they do, we'll take back what was stolen. He turned. His face was identical to Ethan's, but his eyes were dark. Very dark. The memory code, the desert wind, howled outside the old bunker. Sand hissed against the metal walls like whispers from the stars themselves. Inside, Ethan sat on the floor with a memory crystal glowing in his palm. Zyra had given it to him without a word, just before falling into a deep sleep. She hadn't woken up in 12 hours, but the crystal pulsed, like it was alive. He stared at it. A tiny shard, smooth and clear, yet inside, galaxies seemed to swim. Do it, Zyra had told him. See what I've seen. His fingers trembled slightly as he pressed it to his forehead. A rush of light. He fell through time. Not memories like dreams, but like real places. Alive, full of voices, pain, love, betrayal. He saw Zyra as a child. Not on Earth, on a ship, the size of a city. She was alone, trained by machines, taught to be a galactic filter, a secret protector, someone who would choose which planets lived and which burned. Then he saw her first mission. Earth. The Council had ordered her to mark it for destruction. Too chaotic, too violent, too dangerous. But something stopped her. A human boy. Him. A younger Ethan, no older than 10, hiding behind rubble during a small alien scout raid. Zyra had seen him through her scope, and didn't shoot. Instead, she erased the mission logs and told the Council Earth was uninhabitable. He saw her return year after year, watching him, protecting him, killing those who came too close, and then the memory twisted. He saw a lab, bright lights, tubes filled with fluid, 2 bodies inside. One was him, the other, someone else, identical, but colder. Awake too early. Stolen from the lab by men in black armor. And then the screaming began. The clone, the other Ethan, had awakened first, and chose a different path. Ethan pulled the crystal away. Sweat rolled down his face. His heart raced like a war drum. He wasn't just a soldier. He was a living memory. Half of a design never meant to exist. And somewhere out there, the other half had already made a choice. Outside, Zyra finally opened her eyes. Her voice was weak. You saw? Ethan nodded. You've been protecting me for years. You were the last thing I believed in, she whispered. He stared at her, pain in his eyes. Why didn't you tell me? Because the more you knew, the faster they'd find you. The silence broke as a hidden monitor flickered on by itself. A message played. Not a voice, just a code. Ethan recognized it. Same code he once used. In the military. An emergency beacon, but twisted, corrupted. He's sending for you, Zyra said. Your mirror. He has my mind? Ethan asked. No, she replied. He has your memories, but no heart, no mercy. On a faraway moon surrounded by black ships, the other Ethan stood in a room lit only by starlight. He wore armor built from dead planets, lightless, sharp, alive with AI. A general stood beside him. Target is moving toward the forge, the general said. Good, the dark Ethan replied. He'll open it for us. What if he resists? The dark one smiled. He won't. He's like me. He just doesn't know it yet. He turned toward the window. Prepare the code walkers. If the forge awakens, I want its memory mine. Meanwhile, Zira pulled a hidden panel open in the bunker. Inside was a map, hand-drawn, ancient. Lines stretched across galaxies. At the center was a symbol, a circle inside a triangle inside a star. The forge, she whispered. This is where memory becomes matter, where truth can be rewritten. Ethan frowned. Why does it sound like a weapon? Because it is, she said, but only when it falls into the wrong hands. He looked at her. Like his. She nodded. They left that night under a cover of storm and shadow. But someone followed. A tall woman in silver armor, her face hidden, her footsteps silent. She placed her hand on the sand where Ethan once stood. Her armor spoke. DNA confirmed. Target, Echo exists. She smiled beneath her mask. One memory, she said, can destroy a galaxy. Chase through the void. The stars were quiet tonight. Too quiet. Ethan had never seen space this still. Not even during war. No transmissions, no patrols. Just cold silence stretching across infinite black, as if the galaxy was holding its breath. He stood inside the cockpit of an old stolen shuttle, patched together from 3 different alien wrecks. Zira had called it the Whisper. It didn't fly fast, but it flew silent. And right now, silence was their only shield. Behind him, Zira rested on a metal bench, her head leaning back, her eyes half open. We're close, she whispered. To the forge? Ethan asked. No, she said. To the point where running won't matter anymore. The shuttle cut through a dense asteroid belt, the graveyard of a long-dead war. Ships floated here, still cracked open from ancient battles, their lights, long dead. Their weapons turned to rust. This was where Zira said the old route to the forge began. Hidden behind the ruins of a forgotten battle between civilizations no one even remembered. Why here? Ethan asked. Zira stared out the window. Because memory clings to places like this. The forge doesn't live in space, it lives in remembrance. If we remember it hard enough, we might find it. Ethan frowned. What if he remembers it first? Zira closed her eyes. Then everything ends. Meanwhile, light years behind them, a ship unlike any other cut through space, blacker than black, cloaked in a technology even Zira feared. Echo Drive. Inside it, the other Ethan stood with hands behind his back. He stared at an exact replica of Zira, built from stolen memories. A twisted AI version of her voice echoed around the room. Your twin still runs. He's not running, the dark Ethan said. He's circling. What makes you so sure? Because we're the same, he whispered. He'll go where I would go. His eyes turned toward the void. And I already did. On board the Whisper, alarms suddenly blinked to life. Ethan ran to the console. The system detected a shadow, not a ship, not a signal, but something else. We're being followed, he said. Zira sat up. They sent a code walker. Ethan looked confused. What's that? A memory hunter, she replied. Not alive, not dead. Just built from erased thoughts. Ethan tightened his grip on the controls. How do we outrun a memory? You don't, Zira said. You confuse it, make it forget. How? Zira crawled to the back of the ship and opened a hidden panel. Inside, a small box sealed in metal and old language scripts. This is a trauma shard, she said. We feed it pain, and it creates a false trail. Feed it pain? Ethan asked. She nodded. Your memory of the vault, the moment you saw your other self. Ethan hesitated. That almost broke me. Then it'll be strong enough to mislead the hunter. He closed his eyes and touched the shard. It burned. The Whisper jolted violently as the shard activated. The code walker sensed a sudden burst of memory, strong, wild, screaming with conflict. It turned and followed the false trail. For now they were safe, but Zira fell to her knees. The shard took too much from you, Ethan said. She looked up, her nose bleeding slightly. No, it took something else. What? My last memory of you, smiling. Ethan stared at her. Something heavy moved between them. Not fear, not duty. Something almost human. They reached the dead zone soon after, a black sphere floating in space. No stars, no sound, no time. Zyra placed her palm on the ship's interface. We're here. Ethan looked out. There's nothing there. Syrah smiled faintly. You still think the forge is a place? He stepped forward. Then what is it? She turned to him, her eyes glowing faintly. It's a door. And you are the key. Suddenly the whisper's hull cracked. A black blade tore through the ship's wing. Alarms screamed. The ship spiraled. Outside, a massive vessel rose from the darkness. The mirror ship of Ethan's own shuttle. Exact shape. Exact markings. Inside it, the other Ethan stood, waiting. Prepare the link, he ordered. Behind him, dozens of cloned soldiers, all with his face, stepped forward. But something was wrong. The real Ethan, inside the crashing whisper, was no longer running. He stood at the console, fists clenched, eyes burning. If he wants to finish this, Ethan said, then we do it face to face. Zyra looked at him. You're ready, she whispered. The ship crashed into the black sphere towers and everything went white. They didn't crash into a planet. They crashed into memory itself. And in this place, the forge waited. But so did the end of one of them. The last shield, the crash never happened the way Ethan expected. No fire. No impact. No sound. One moment. The whisper tore through black emptiness. The next, Ethan opened his eyes and found himself standing in the middle of a vast white field, skyless, silent, weightless. His armor was gone. The cuts on his hands were gone. The stars, gone. Even Zero was gone. He turned slowly. This wasn't a place. This was memory. Far away, Zira opened her eyes too. But she wasn't with Ethan. She stood before a massive gate made of shifting glass and light. At the center was a spinning wheel of glowing runes. It pulsed like a heart. The forge. It wasn't a weapon. It wasn't a machine. It was a question. And whoever answered it would shape everything that came next. A voice echoed across the field where Ethan stood. Welcome. He turned. Standing across from him was himself. The dark Ethan. Same face. Same body. But eyes cold and deep like frozen oceans. They stared at each other. No weapons. Just silence between two fates. So, the Dark One said, smiling faintly. We meet where it all began. This isn't where it began, Ethan replied. No, the Dark One agreed. But this is where it ends. In the memory chamber beyond the gate, Zira watched both Ethans on two glowing panels. She was standing in the forge's core, a place where all possible outcomes branched like veins through light. She could end this. She could choose. But only one Ethan could walk out alive. And she would have to decide. Why do you want the forge? Ethan asked. The Dark One stepped closer. Because I want to fix what they broke. I want to erase the pain. Erase the war. Erase them all. You mean destroy half the galaxy, Ethan said. No, the Dark One smiled. Just rewrite it. Clean, cold, perfect. Ethan shook his head. You're not fixing anything. You're just trying to become what made you. And you? The Dark One asked. You want to keep this broken universe alive? These corrupt governments? These dying stars? I want to give people a choice, Ethan said. The Dark One's smile faded. That, he whispered, is your mistake. The forge began to pulse violently. The light turned red, then silver, then black. It was listening. Back in the core, Zyra placed her hand on the command stone. The forge spoke through her mind. Ancient, heavy. Choose the truth, or the rewrite. Her body trembled. They had reached the final question. Not who would win, but which truth deserved to survive. Outside the chamber, the dark Ethan stepped forward. "You were the failed one," he said. "The mistake. The weak half." "Maybe," Ethan said, stepping up to him. "But I kept my heart." They collided. No weapons, just fists, memory and rage. They punched through years of fear, through choices not made, through betrayals. Both of them bled, but only one of them still cared. "You can't save her," the dark one growled, pinning Ethan down. "You never could." Ethan smiled through blood. "But she saved me." And that was the difference. Inside the core, Zira wept. The forge waited. Rewrite, or remember. Her hand hovered over the two paths. One would reset history. One would keep it, pain and all. She looked at the screen. Ethan, her Ethan, was losing. The dark one had a blade now. It was made of memory itself. He raised it, but Zira whispered, "I choose memory." A shockwave exploded through the forge. The white sky cracked open. The blade vanished from the dark Ethan's hand. "What have you done?" he screamed. Ethan rose from the ground. Glowing symbols appeared on his skin, ancient, golden, alive. "She remembered me," he said. And then, the forge began to collapse. Zira ran toward him, bleeding light with every step. The forge was burning. The universe was rearranging itself, but time was running out. The dark Ethan tried to leap at them, but the forge grabbed him, pulled him into the cracks between memory. He screamed and vanished, forever erased. Ethan caught Zira just before she fell. Her body was fading, not dying, but becoming something else. "What's happening?" he cried. "The forge chose me," she whispered. "I'm becoming the final memory." "No," Ethan said. "You can't. Not now. I always was the shield," she said. "You just had to remember." He held her tight. She placed her hand over his heart. "Live free. Not for me, for everyone." And then she dissolved, light falling upward like stardust. Outside, the forge vanished. The whisper reappeared in real space, healed, renewed, but silent. Inside, Ethan stood alone in the cockpit. He touched the place she last stood. A quiet voice echoed in his mind. "I shielded you from the galaxy, but you chased me like a threat, and now," he understood. Bleeding in his arm space was not silent anymore. From the outer edges of the system, ships began to arrive. Warships, carriers, dreadnoughts from across the galaxy. Each flew under a different flag, but they all carried the same purpose. Find the survivor of the forge, the one who now held its memory. The one called Ethan. He stood at the edge of an abandoned station orbiting a dying star. The whisper floated nearby, silent as a grave. Its engines were cold, its systems locked. Ethan had shut everything down. He didn't want to run anymore. Zira was gone, but not truly. Her memory lived in his veins. Literally, after the forge burned and remade him, Ethan had changed. He could feel time bend when he thought too hard. He could see the past in reflections, and sometimes, late at night, he could hear her voice. Not from outside, but from within. A soft echo, a whisper, a promise she left behind. "You're not a weapon, you're the proof they were wrong about humanity." A signal pinged. A ship arrived, but not from the enemy. It was a human ship, Earth's command vessel. Battle-scarred, slow, proud. General Camden hailed him. "Sergeant Ethan Ryder," the voice crackled. "You're ordered to surrender any forge, data, and stand down for military retrieval." Ethan didn't answer right away. He looked down at his hands, still glowing faintly with the forge's energy. Inside him was everything: the truth, the lies, the code that could shape stars, and everyone wanted it. More ships came, alien factions, old enemies, former allies, all tracking the same coordinates: one man, one memory, one last choice. Inside the station, Ethan stood in front of a terminal. He had one option left. The memory code Zira left hidden in the Whisper's core. A final program. Built not to fight, but to reveal. If he activated it, the Forge's truth would be broadcast across every known system. The entire galaxy would see what Zira saw: the corruption, the betrayal, the hidden wars, the stolen lives, and the cost of silence. But it came with a warning. Once memory is free, it can't be erased. If you choose to tell them, Zira had said, they will turn on each other. Some will call you savior, others will call you the end. Ethan stared at the blinking icon. His finger hovered over it. The door behind him exploded. General Camden walked in with soldiers, their weapons pointed at him, their eyes wary. "You don't understand what you're carrying," Camden said. "I understand perfectly," Ethan replied. "This isn't just memory. This is proof." "And proof causes wars," Camden growled. "We kept peace by hiding it." "You kept control," Ethan said. "There's a difference." Camden raised his weapon. "Stand down." Ethan looked at the trigger again. He thought of Zira, bleeding in his arms, the way she whispered that final line. "I shielded you from the galaxy, but you chased me like a threat." And now the galaxy had come to him, again, with guns drawn. But this time he wasn't running. He pressed the trigger. The lights exploded. Not with heat, with truth. Images flooded every ship in orbit. Every screen. Every AI core. The Forge's full memory. Unfiltered. The creation of the twin Ethans. The corruption of the Council. Zira's sacrifices. The soldiers erased from history. The experiments on human children. The false wars started to cover up fear. Truth poured into the galaxy like fire. And then, silence on board every ship, weapons lowered. Soldiers cried, some screamed, others dropped to their knees. Some humans saw what their own leaders had done and turned their weapons on their commanders. Some aliens who had hated humans for centuries saw that they were manipulated and began to question everything. A civil storm ignited, but it wasn't chaos. It was rebirth. General Camden dropped his rifle. His face was pale. "What have you done?" he whispered. Ethan stood tall. What she wanted. 2 days later. Peace. Talks began on a neutral moon. Nobody trusted anyone fully, but they talked, and that was something. Ethan disappeared after that. Some say he died with the Forge. Some say he left for the edge of space, chasing silence. But those who saw him last say he stood on a hill under a broken sky, holding a small memory shard close to his heart, her shard, the last piece of Zira. And sometimes, when night falls and the stars are quiet again, radios pick up a strange signal, soft, fading, like a voice from another life. "I shielded you from the galaxy, but you became the reason. It changed." The end.